Chaos? This is your gaming, your Kid Rose Chaos gaming channel, and I come back at you with another Final Fantasy VII theory. This is more Final Fantasy VII content besides just my stream, so for the remake, and we're gonna be talking about Cloud's imposter syndrome, where he thinks he's Zack. Cause it's a big discussion of Cloud making up his memories, but is it really made up, or is it through other things? First of all, Cloud had an idealism for Soldier. He thinks that, being like Sephiroth, you get all the glory and everything's supposed to, come in a full circle and you get full glory and stuff like that. And become a hero, which actually was a delusion that Shinra has created to entice young people to join Soldier. And it explains why when Cloud comes back he keeps the helmet on, because he didn't make Soldier. But we're about to get into that. I think the first event to start this whole transformative sequence is, besides his embarrassment of not being a first-class soldier, is seeing Sephiroth burn down his town, kill his mother, hurt Zack, hurt Tifa, the people he cares about. Seeing his greatest hero he looked up to all these years become the very thing he has to fight and destroy is the cause. It is the cause of why, is one of the many causes why Cloud's psychiatric state isn't good. Plus, one of the modified Jenova cells that Cloud has, the trauma that he gets feeds into the control of Jenova. It's like the wings with Angeal and Genesis. Genesis has black wings because he represents darkness, because it's in his heart. Angeal gets the white wings because Angeal's not completely evil, but he doesn't want to live his whole life with those wings. Zack gets none because Zack stayed who he is, irregardless of all the bad stuff that happened to him. But, even before the Jenova cells, Cloud's emotions was his true, I would say, superpower, his true, his true potential, because it was his emotions that kept him alive to take Sephiroth out using his own Masamune that he got stabbed through. And that's how, in fact, that's exactly why Hojo implanted the Jenova cells, and the S cells inside Cloud, is because he knew by analyzing that Cloud was the one who actually defeated Sephiroth and not Zack. Which is the one thing that Cloud can actually be proud of, is that he defeated Sephiroth. So, well, at least supposedly, because really Sephiroth lived the live stream. We all know the story. But this is actually the stage 1 of Cloud's traumatic mindset. Then unable to save Tifa as well is also what caused some of this to happen. So, being powerless to save Tifa, he had to become something bigger outside of himself. Even though that's unattractive to some people, one thing I like about Cloud is he's a flawed hero. He's a more realistic hero on the fact that, people have these things. People have trauma and insecurity issues like Cloud does. Not to mention, Cloud did fight in Soldiers, so there is actually some PTSD included with that, Plus, there's also the Mako poisoning, which I think that's what melded Zack's memories with Cloud's memories. So really, it's not really a delusion that Cloud has. He believes this stuff, which I'm going to get to that a little later on. The S cells messing with him, Mako poisoning, and seeing everyone he loves being killed mercilessly by the guy he idolized. Of course he's going to want to feel stronger. He felt too weak to not being able to protect anybody. Let's be real honest. You would be like that too if that happened to you. If you're the guy you looked up to, the guy you idealized all your life, just one day took your mom's life and everyone you care about, it's like it's gonna create a disillusion within inside yourself. You know, you're obviously gonna want a taste of revenge, but it's gonna also gonna cause you to want to get stronger mentally. So you do anything it takes to get strong, because it's like with the whole Sasuke and Itachi thing. At some point, you can't blame Sasuke for being a little, edgy and all that stuff, because I mean, imagine losing all the people you care about. You had them in the beginning, but you lost it all. And it's done by the person you looked up to. Itachi was, Sephiroth was someone Cloud looked up to, just like how Itachi was someone that Sasuke looked up to. Of course, we know Itachi's good, but the reason I'm using this example is that it's exactly like that. Cloud looked up to Sephiroth. Sure, he wasn't like the big brother figure that Zack was, but this is the man he wanted to be. This is the man he emulated. And to see him now as the one monster, the one demon he has to defeat in order for him to let go. That's why you see Sephiroth mess with Cloud. And that's also why with Sephiroth just messes with Cloud's head through the live stream. We also gotta talk about the fact President Shinra brought up Cloud's degradation because of the color of his eyes. And the sad truth about Soldier is that soldiers can fight longer and stuff like that, but their lifespans are shorter because of the stuff that's inside them. The Genova cells, whatever cells, whether it's just S, G, or whatever. But G's are probably the worst ones that will make you degrade even faster. But it'll still make you degrade because, well, humans aren't supposed to put different splash DNA inside of them. They're not meant to put like other life forms DNAs and other people's DNAs. It's like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 when Harry Osborn was asking, Peter Parker to give some of his DNA, his Spider-Man DNA, to him to save him, and he finally got it, but he turned ugly and turned to the Hobgoblin because of that stuff. It's the same thing. You're not, and again, I'm not gonna say I'm a biologist, but I don't think you're supposed to splash DNA with each other. Of course, it's Shinra. What are ethics? What are ethics in Shinra? What's that? What's that? What is ethics? But this will also think that Cloud was the one who actually went to Nibelheim with Sephiroth, because his memories are melded with Zack's. Another factor also why Cloud has these messed up memories. Zack was just like an older brother figure to him, and then to see him die by Shinra's hands, by the people he worked for, the trauma was so bad that Cloud didn't want to remember the name of Zack. So Cloud made up a memory of himself as if he was Zack, but without the name. So now Zack thinks he's Zack, but without the name or face. All of Zack's experiences are now Cloud's experiences. And that's why I say it's not delusion, because when bad stuff constantly happens, sometimes we, don't want to think about the bad stuff that happened. We don't. We get to a point in our mind where we'll make up anything. That's why some delusions are based off of poor mental states. Either insecurity or poor mental states. So they'll make up a story. So really, in all things, Cloud really did not steal Valor. Not to mention, he did get his Buster Sword, so it was kind of believable when Zack said all the stuff that Zack did, that he did. It was easy to believe. That's why Barry and everybody else never questioned his stuff, except Tifa knew, but Tifa didn't want to put his psychological state even worse by telling him the truth. That's why she had him join Avalanche in the first place. That's why you see in the cutscene when he drops in Aerith's church, him talking to himself. That's actually really Zack talking to Cloud. But remember, Cloud removed the name and face because he didn't want to remember the painful memories that was in it, plus the Mako poisoning and the S cells mess with his psychological state so much that, Zack has been erased in his mind. So when he was talking to himself in that dream, it was actually really Zack he was talking to. But at this point, he didn't remember. All he remembers is he's Zack. This is also another point too that, when Aerith was talking about her first boyfriend and brought up the name Zack, Cloud was very uncomfortable. He even got the headaches because Cloud's, S cells does not, respond to his trauma. He doesn't want to remember the trauma that was involved with, Zack's death, Nibelheim incident, and all that stuff. So even just saying, let's just say there's another guy named Zack. If you're in front of Cloud and you say the word Zack, Cloud gets a responsive headache. Because his traumatic psychological state doesn't want to remember what happened. So the S cells and the Genova cells react to a point where it gives him a really bad headache. And in psychopathy, sometimes our mental health controls our physical health. We get psychomatic stuff when people feel sick. When people feel sick when a lot of negative stuff happens or stress happens. That's why it's hard for people to perform in the bedroom when they're stressed, and then they feel like they have a flu. Sometimes it can be also psychological as well. So even saying the word Zack in front of Cloud would give Cloud the extreme amount of headaches because Cloud doesn't want to remember the memories that were right there. So it's not really delusion. This is actually something Cloud deeply believes inside of his head. This is actually something he really believes in. Like, he really believes he's Zack because he didn't want to remember everything. So like I said, but the thing is, in reality, you're never gonna be the person that you think you were. You're gonna always be what you truly are. It's gonna come out, later on, but Cloud doesn't want to face it. And that's also why Cloud acts like a hard ass and acts like an edgelord too, because he doesn't want to face the truth. He'll go out of his way to dodge and deflect, even cut people out of it, even push people away, because you even push people away to get rid of the nightmares that happened that day he got the Buster Sword. So he crafts this identity that he's this badass soldier that, doesn't want to get close to anybody who's got some angst to him, because it's much easier to deal with that than to deal with the harsh reality of what happened. And then also the fact his crush on Tifa, he was embarrassed to take his helmet off in front of Tifa and tell Tifa life was in serious danger, because he wanted to come back as a first-class soldier to show it off to Tifa, because deep inside Cloud has a thing for Tifa as well. That's why he wanted to come back in the soldier uniform. He didn't want to come back as an infantryman, so he kept the helmet on just because of his embarrassment. So it's also embarrassment plus trauma plus the S cells plus the Genova DNA and various events, the Nibelheim incident, and most importantly, the true death of Zack. So that's what caused the nightmare to begin, and that's why spiraled into Cloud's false identity. So may the crystal be with you. Like and subscribe, and thank you for coming to this discussion. Thanks for my TED Talk.